Welcome. Today's post is Deep Throat and Tricky Dick Nixon, Coordinating Politics with Pop Culture. Published on September 28, 2023. On January 20, 1973, Nixon's second inauguration conducts war against pornography films. One day later, the New York Times publishes the groundbreaking review of Deep Throat, a pornographic movie. Just a few months later, another, Deep Throat, would become the center of the world's attention in Nixon's final national scandal. The scandal that ended the POTUS they called Tricky Dick. Here are the topics we'll be decoding today. You can always find this list in the description below. If you enjoy this video, please press the like button, and subscribe for weekly full-length blog posts, and shorter, more shareable videos. Let's begin. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it does, you can bet it was planned that way. I don't know who said that, but they knew what they were talking about. The downfall of Nixon, for example. January 20, 1973, Nixon's second inauguration, conducts war against pornography films. January 21, 1973, NYT groundbreaking Deep Throat, the pornography movie, review. Only months after this, a Deep Throat would become the center of the world's attention in his final national scandal. The scandal that ended the man they called Tricky Dick. You can use the shortcuts above if you want to read the rest of my decode on that right now, but I bring it up early because it demonstrates the coordination of politics with pop culture. It's not an isolated incident, and if that example didn't sway you, how about several more? Last week I went over comms tied to the newly highest paid NFL player of all time, Joe Burrow, Burrow equals donkey, and how those comms tied to the upcoming downfall of Joe Biden, Democrat equals donkey. Well, he isn't the only JB being used to send comms right now. Jimmy Buffett. September 2, 2023. Jimmy Buffett, roguish bard of island escapism, is dead at 76. Note the description in the article. Jimmy in 1977. He found a way of life in the Caribbean. 1977 is when Jimmy produced his most famous works. Does Jimmy plus 1977 ring a bell? It should. January 20, 1977, Jimmy B, breakthrough and still most famous album released. Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes. January 20, 1977, Jimmy C, inauguration of Jimmy Carter. The point of invoking Jimmy Buffett plus island escapism symbolism is likely tied to the changes that happened that year with data control. I go over this frequently, so I'll just link to one of those times. We can see this in the lyrics to his songs. Note the origin of his most famous song. The origin of island escapism. They were on a peanut butter diet. Jimmy Carter was famously a peanut farmer, and then they left America and went overseas, and they found an American cheeseburger, i.e. moved the ops overseas. Read that again. Left America and went overseas. December 25, 1946, Jimmy Buffett born. December 25, 1946, China Constitution ratified. Note he was also married in 1977 and remained married until death. Marriages are often crucial for decoding, so was it 45 or 46 years? This is important. 46 years to the exact day when he checked into the hospital he died at. August 27, 1977, Jimmy Buffett married on sailboat. Plus 46 years. August 27, 2023. Jimmy Buffett checks into hospice where he dies 5 days later. August 1977. They adopted a Cameron in 1994. August 3, 1977. MKUltra Senate hearing Cameron documents. August 4, 1977. Q clearance DOE start, nuclear handle. August 26, 1977. Fukushima No. 5 nuclear plant first criticality, future nuclear disaster. August 27, 1977. Jimmy Buffett sailboat marriage. The death being an anniversary tied to Q nuclear handling means his death is likely a highly relevant comm today, but before that. September 7, 1967. Flying Nun show debut, top 100 TV guide shows. September 8, 1967. Ewan Cameron, father of Canadian psychiatry and MKUltra death. Escape Calm Jimmy released his most famous songs on the Jimmy Carter inauguration, but his most popular album is a compilation that became popular over time. October 14, 1985. Jimmy Buffett Greatest Hits compilation. October 15, 1985. Moonlighting Most Famous Episode. Moonlighting episode, Dream Sequence Always Rings Twice. It was Orson Welles' final performance. Note what he says in final interview. He will be releasing King Lear plus Dreamers soon. Lear equals looking. The Moonlighting Dream episode went from color to black and white with Orson explaining the meaning of the transition. Notice the description of the Dreamers' unfinished movie. 2 segments. Black and white and color. Black and white, Italian opera diva who mysteriously disappeared after losing the ability to sing. Color, declares her farewell to Merchant announcing she is disappearing to seek a new anonymous life. Vanish/vanish. Comms of why things were moved overseas. So Jimmy Buffett is a symbol of island escapism, moving things overseas. In fact, notice the logo compass on the front. Changes in latitudes. CIA has a compass logo. Changes to the CIA ops. Now that we have context to interpret his death. What did he die of? He died of Merkel cell cancer after 4 years. That gives us what we need to know. Merkel being the German head of the EU who recently resigned. Making it specifically 4 years plus Jimmy Carter makes it clear this is tied to Joe Biden too. Joe Biden. After 4 years Carter imploded, giving Reagan a legendary win. I've long said Biden's actions mirror this. It's why so many of his comms took the form of gaffes. Not fun meme ones like Trump has, Kofefi, but embarrassing ones expressing weakness akin to Alzheimer's. Pitiable if not for the fact that he was literally the most powerful person in the world. You can't get pity for weakness when running for a position that demands the highest level of aptitude. June 17, 1977. Jill marries Joe Biden, 46 Why marriage? August 27, 1977. Jane marries Jimmy Buffett, 46 Why? 1977, J plus JB/J plus JB. Joe Biden married at United Nations. Trump and Bush were also married 1977. It was a year of comms tied to 2 sides come together. J is an umbrella comm. Symbol of being under some form of protection. October 2018, Trump dumps umbrella at door of Air Force One on way to Indianapolis. October 2018, Justice Kavanaugh confirmed Supreme Court. No more protection from court. The 4-year cancer of Jimmy being Merkel is a clear symbol of tying the politician of the same name to Biden. October 28, 2018, Trump dumps umbrella. October 29, 2018, 5 a.m. Merkel announces she won't run again. No more protection. The Merkel connection is especially valid given she was the de facto leader of the EU. That is by some measures power comparable to USA head. Regardless, it's a big deal and ties into global change. 4-year secret Merkel battle. A battle that ends on the 46th anniversary of the 1977 marriage. Anyway, the actual form it takes to pull of Jimmy Carter x2 self-immolation. We have been promised a show, and you know what fits that bill perfectly. August 31, 2023, Trump trial in Fulton County will be televised and live-streamed, Georgia judge says. What is to be revealed in such a spectacle? I may be optimistic, but this has enormous potential. Especially meaningful in relation to Merkel because I have a long-term memory. Does anyone else remember stories about German servers tied to US voter fraud? Mainstream media did say these were false reports, but they don't have such a great track record. Anyway, I collected a handful of proofs from back then in this page. Been years since I even looked at it, but I still remember it was way more than enough to convince anyone. Plus I only collected a tiny fraction of what was out there. After years of kangaroo court nonsense, they are finally allowing footage to be released of January 6th. 44K hours at 44, likely a symbol tied to the newly freed free speech haven, X. Evidence to spread widely as we now have the framework prepped for it. You might wonder how to reconcile them being imprisoned for years if this is all part of the plan. My hypothesis on that is the only ones kept in those conditions are flipped clowns. Flipped clowns that by being arrested allow criminal connections to be investigated. If you've read how fees work. The whole two-jump rule is a perfect example on why a tactic like this would work. The flipped clowns already have dirt to be arrested, and by going this route to jail they become heroes instead of villains. Just a theory, for now. I've been thinking more about the repetition of "for" in recent comms. Years ago I thought it might be invoking the Gulf "for" as a symbol for a warning of future impact, but that's such a broad concept that I could never confirm it. I have a new hypothesis. Another possible symbol for "for" that would fit is honesty. 4 is the only honest number. 0 equals 4 letters. 1 equals 3. 2 equals 3. 4 equals 4. 5 equals 4. 6 equals 3. 7 equals 5. 8 equals 5. 9 equals 4. 10 equals 3. If you break the fourth wall, you talk bluntly to the audience and break illusion. I tried to find pop culture for comms to confirm or reject. Movie 444, Last Day on Earth. Movie about the ozone layer destroyed at that time, killing all. Ozone equals invisible shield, protects from the sun. Sun rays equals visibility. Released same day, new CIA head. But that's just one example. It's far from confirmed, but it would be a perfect symbol for what I see going on. A repetition of truth incoming. This isn't solved though, it's far too common a number to be confident yet. Just a hypothesis that fits. Jimmy Beast. Jimmy Buffett defined by island escapism. The new Mr. Beast video has 6 experiments all represented with sinking islands. I suspect the symbolism is relating what happens to the people who cooperate versus those who do not. This is why there are 2 Lamborghini, only one lives. Begins showing the looming threat of the Lamborghini in the shredder. Then we have Dominoes end with snake eyes, crushing the 7 to 11. Symbolism of a timer until what? Timer until boom. Nuclear detonation destroying village. Survived the last one, but this is 200 times bigger explosion. Symbolism of upcoming actions against criminals, perhaps. Which leads to the juxtaposition of 2 Lamborghini. They show nothing could stop military tank shells, yet it survives despite the very first round going straight through all barriers. They likely weren't aiming at it directly. Which I suspect is symbolism of what happens with cooperation. Theatrics with a legal case. Without cooperation, the next island hits. A roller coaster built with explosives. Obviously it all explodes. Followed by safes with eggs, nest eggs inside them. Each safe gets the amount of explosives at cost of the safe. As for why? Every single one blows up. With them being so close they even damage each other. Spending the same amount on the bombs as the safe equals no matter how big we have the resources to go after them. Eggs gone. Reminds me of offshore bank accounts. Final 2 are the Lamborghinis. One being shot by 3 military tanks. And the other going into a shredder. Note the shredder has feces poured into it before it destroys the Lambo. Feces is an evidence symbol. Note the tank isn't actually aiming at the car. As expected, the blue car survives and the red is destroyed even as it fights back. Notice the color of the shredder is the same color as the car that survives. Testimony against those that don't cooperate. The ones that take deals versus those that don't. The color of the shredder is what clenches my hypothesis as plausible in my view. That color matching is unlikely to have been accidental. Additionally, I've just been made aware that there was a meme last week about blue cars surviving wildfires. And other blue items. I don't necessarily endorse this as I haven't dug into it, I just find it a fascinating potential connection with what I just covered. Quite remarkable timing after I decoded the saved from destruction blue destroying the others. Dominoes. I'm reminded of this old meme. Bigger and bigger dominoes in motion. A reader dug up this next one. September 1st, 2023. 2 Lamborghinis race, 1 crashes sent to jail. September 2nd, 2023. Mr. Beast 2 Lamborghini video. September 4th, 2023. Lamborghini race crash first reported. Unlikely to be coincidence. Both involve 2 Lamborghini with one being destroyed. The surviving Lamborghini is now wanted by the police. So these are the same kinds of comms I decoded yesterday. A message about one ultra-wealthy party intentionally getting arrested to take out another party of similar means. It's difficult to know exactly how real stories like this are, but we are dealing with a type of wealth that is outside my, and likely most readers', experiences. Notice the chosen Lamborghinis are hurricanes. Tying it into recent Behold the Sun. Musk posted a Dominoes meme today, at the time I posted this on Twitter that is, followed by a reply to a post talking about Dominoes. Combined with Mr. Beast world record Dominoes knocking over a 7-11 store. And this does seem to be a pattern. As for the meaning. This wasn't the first time Musk posted that Dominoes meme. He also posted it during the January 6th riots, specifically tying it to Facebook's origins. This is interesting as they recently agreed to release 44K hours of videos. Musk has been attempting to physically fight Mark Zuckerberg as well as highlighting the failure of Facebook's new features to mimic Twitter. In fact, that was the very next tweet after Domino Effect. Dumbing down. Now to fully understand the message, let's look at the additional tweets given to the original Domino post. Musk highlights the film Dumb and Dumber in reply to a Carl Sagan excerpt talking about the dumbing down of the world. The point with Carl Sagan is one I cover in posts. September 27, 1980, Cosmos TV Guide Week begins. September 28, 1980, Cosmos debut hosted by Carl Sagan. September 30, 1980, Ethernet becomes the standard. October 3, 1980, Cosmos TV Guide Weekend. Explore the universe equals Internet. Other voyage comms may not necessarily pertain to Internet. That specific excerpt involves Carl Sagan talking about Dumb and Dumber and Beavis and Butthead dumbing down the world. December 20, 1996, Carl Sagan death. December 20, 1996, Beavis and Butthead do America. Another death to send a message, and one critical to decoding all of this. Apple infamously feuded with Carl Sagan and labeled Carl Sagan and their new computer, Butthead Astronomer, due to lawsuits. The point with the death during the very first years of the Internet was likely the push to dumbing down the whole thing. What then was Dumb and Dumber a comm for? December 16, 1994, Dumb and Dumber. December 16, 1994, LHC construction approved. December 15, 1994, Netscape Navigator first released, becomes top browser. That LHC construction is a giveaway to the meaning, especially when contrasted with Netscape. Why? I already decoded the LHC. September 2, 2008, Google Chrome launch, billed as the fastest browser. September 10, 2008, CERN LHC turns on. When did CERN's LHC complete its goal at finding the God particle? July 2012. The same point Chrome became king of the Internet. The symbolism of the Geneva, UN-based CERN, official creator of the Internet. Creating the LHC to find the God particle, which can assign weight to speed up/slow down. Symbolism of search rankings. It was all comms tied to Google Chrome domination. The master of the universe, by some measures. It also gives us the affiliation of Netscape Navigator as the precursor. This gives us Dumb and Dumber as a symbol, and we can see that with other uses as well. September 28, 2016. Dumb and Dumber released by Icon. September 28, 2016. Google, Facebook, Amazon, IBM, Facebook joining forces to create a new AI partnership. AI being the programmed masses. This was the direction we were going had HRC won. November 14, 2014. Dumb and Dumber 2. November 14, 2014. Russia plans alternative Wikipedia. I'm not sure what was coordinated with the sequel, but it looks like this was a reaction to it. Much online was designed to facilitate a trajectory for people. And it wasn't to get smarter. All of this can now be reconciled with the new comms. I mentioned a sequence of tweets before. The very next one had Tucker Carlson again on X. That's the point. We aren't going in the Dumb and Dumber route. Free speech allowed and moving fast. Prior interviews with Tucker Musk highlighted make intent clear. Since the current subject matter is a little unusual. Regardless, it's high transparency about things never talked about at this scale of conversation. That Dumb and Dumber decode unlocks the point of Forrest Gump as well. I had partly decoded it and tied it to funding, but I didn't solve what was funded. But now it's clear what that bench symbolized. Notice all the history in the film. I already decoded another film with the same type of comms. February 17, 1989. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, phone booth equals 56K connection symbol. March 12, 1989. Internet official birth. Reconcile the history in Forrest Gump to this film. History, as told by two stoners. The point was in dealing with the risk of giving the masses all the info of the world. All it would take is one person laying it all out. So the internet became a labyrinth of stupidity. History through the eyes of a stoner or handicapped. The Idris Elba mystery. Reader pointed me to this one. August 2023. Apple Plus H/Jack stars Idris Elba finale. September 2023. Cyberpunk 2077 expansion, stars Idris Elba. Both star Idris Elba and are about a plane attack. Both pushed big right now. Both have trailers ending with missile attack on a plane. Both are tech promos. Cyberpunk has tech as its very identity and Hijack is computer company Apple Plus top show. The most obvious thread to pull is Idris Elba. I'd never heard of him, but he was the pick to star in both. What does it mean to invoke Idris Elba? Elba equals Napoleon's first place of exile before returning to rule. Phantom Liberty depicts a female president of the new United States on the plane, so this may give us a clue as to some part of intent. Another potential clue is the use of social media. Story of Hijack kicks off reporting the hijack with a phone message for help. Note the title, Hijack is stylized as H/Jack. Jack Dorsey equals Twitter. Tagline, let them think they're in control. Talking about Twitter plus President plus Exile plus, let them think they are in control, makes one think of Trump. Worth noting, Cyberpunk story involves a betrayed Elba returning for revenge on the new female president after 7 years of exile. So why invoke Idris Elba? Most famous for playing a criminal boss Russell Stringer Bell on The Wire, a show about wiretapping criminals. Bell as a name is tied historically to tech surveillance as it's the name of the original phone company. I haven't yet made any strong conclusions, I'm just lining up the patterns for now. And it does seem to be going in a direction. Wiretapping is an interesting symbol given Trump and his history with being wiretapped. I still remember when he made the accusation, and the media blew up about it. It was the first big Trump versus media war post-presidency. A war Trump won, at least from my perspective. He was laser-focused on being wiretapped and that he would one day be vindicated about it all. April 6, 2016. Wiretapping origin case that leads to the counterintelligence investigation against Trump opened. 04/06-2016 Musk changes profile to himself as a child answering a phone. Model X, Falcon Punch. Falcon Punch equals F-Zero. Interesting to note, F-Zero just released their first game in franchise since 2004. That's an unlikely connection to reconcile because I'm basing it on a buzzword given to something Musk was promoting at the time. It may be nothing more than a meme. But that's just how I like to dig when things are unclear. I pick whatever looks like the most prominent or interesting com and dig into it. Often I don't even solve what I set out to, but I end up solving something along the way that I can turn into a thread. Idris Elba Deep Throat. For example, if we dig into Idris Elba using another angle. September 6, 1972, Idris Elba born. September 6, 1972, Olympics massacre conclusion 17 dead. September 6, 1972, Virgin Islands massacre 8 dead. Latter massacre tied to a plane hijacking. Olympics massacre kicked off years of assassinations in response. Idris Elba was tied to wiretapping comms. Which is interesting considering this was 1972. Deepthroating Tricky Dick. What else happened that year? June 5, 1972, conversation leads to Watergate. June 5, 1972, UN Conference World Environment Day origin. June 11, 1972, Deep Throat, most famous sex film. June 17, 1972, Watergate caught wiretapping, Deep Throat later exposes. June 5, 1972, wiretap setup. September 5, 1972, Mark Spitz record gold and final Olympic winner. September 5, 1972, Olympic massacre of Israeli athletes begins. September 11, 1972, Mark Spitz Time magazine. June 11, 1972, Deep Throat sex film. September 15, 1972, grand jury indicts Watergate. Deep Throat Mark Spitz. Always an interesting moment after a day of digging and I stumble over a 50-plus-year-old sex joke. Not just a crude joke, but a critical piece of history that unlocks things. Much of the rest was hypothesis and at least partly incorrect, but not that. It's absurd, but it's also far too specific and connected in too many ways to be coincidence. Note he became the hottest pinup since Betty Grable. I found literature of the time confirming that as how he was billed. TV debut playing a dentist. Pulling teeth, comms equals removing hard to remove people. Like Nixon, or we can return back to Napoleon. Or both. March 2, 1974. Jury concludes Nixon involved in Watergate cover-up. March 4, 1974. Waterloo ABBA album released. Waterloo equals Napoleon final loss. Just to demonstrate this is the right connection. The star of Deep Throat is Susan and Mark Spitz's wife is named Susan. A lot more to decode with this guy still. Even with the right connections I still have a lot of history to reconcile. Not just Susan, but Susan Wiener. Common slang for what? Deep Throat being a movie about what again? And don't forget what Richard Nixon was called. His original catchphrase and then later as a derogatory nickname, Tricky Dick. So when you understand the context it makes perfect sense they would use this as the com to coordinate. The history of Deep Throat begins with Linda Lovelace at the Motel Voyager, petting her cat, Adolf Hitler. Symbolism fits, Deep Throat op Nixon becomes Hitler. Had to skim a big-budget 2005 documentary about the film to learn that. One of the things the documentary covered was how the NYT articles normalized it and allowed Deep Throat to be discussed nationally. January 20, 1973, Nixon's second inauguration. January 21, 1973, NYT Deep Throat articles. Note the articles focus on needing a different kind of journalism. I'm still working out the precise mechanisms at play in comms, but surely notable is the court cases tied to this pornography film. The film literally went on trial in dozens of states and was banned outright in many. Stars were arrested, and movie theaters were raided. Another key point of the story was the Nixon administration waging war on it, and all smut. October 24, 1970. Nixon, so long as I am in the White House, there will be no relaxation of the effort to control and eliminate smut from our daily life. Another part was the big stars publicized viewing it. Jack Nicholson, Truman Capote, Johnny Carson, who jokes about how he assumed it was about giraffes. Keep in mind this largely before Watergate but continued through it. Probably the most important puzzle piece is the Nixon shock. August 13, 1971. Friday the 13th, Nixon upsets global bankers ending Bretton Woods system. 1 year plus 13 days equals August 26, 1972. August 26, 1972. German Olympics begin with Spitz/Wiener as top winner. Olympic equals coordinating countries. This war between Nixon and pornography and the judiciary crackdown failed as they say it just made more and more people go to see it. If we assume the bankers were behind the push, then what form does their support take? The answer is bubbles. At least in several cases I've decoded. Which is interesting because in Deep Throat, just before the most famous scene, she is given a bizarre therapy where a doctor blows bubbles at her. Symbol of money pumping supporters. Which explains the media blitz for this pornography film. The many major stars promoting it and so on. As you might expect, Hugh Hefner was highly in support of it. One of the principal figures talking about it in the documentary. Muted today, it had a big pop culture footprint for decades. Alan Dershowitz was the defending attorney in the case against the actor in the film. The obvious conclusion made is the push against Nixon came in the form of funding bubbles and violence with Israeli-only murders at the Olympics. I have long decoded Mossad as tied to right-wing, so for the terrorists to only go after Israelis. September 4, 1972. CBS The Price is Right debut 8,000+ episodes. September 4, 1972. Mark Spitz won 7th record-breaking gold medal. Comms of funding volunteers for the upcoming Ops. Price is Right. Let's go through The Price is Right. Here is a clip of The Price is Right where a contestant inexplicably bids $250K on a $20K showcase. Showcases are always less than a tenth of that, the numbers don't even go up that high. Obviously this is a comm, but what kind? Context is crucial and there is no date given here. I was able to find the date, but in this case the original date is equally important as the YouTube upload date. Why? March 13, 2007. Viacom sues YouTube for $1 billion. March 14, 2007. Stupid bid on Price is Right YouTube. The lawsuit was trying to get damages for videos on YouTube. It was a comm about it, but there's more to it than just the absurd number. Just before the lawsuit this was all over the news. February 2, 2007. Viacom demands YouTube takes down content. The important thing about that article is it gives us an origin point. I don't see news stories about it before that. What I do see is the YouTube uploader's videos have a one-to-one relationship with these news stories. His first video was on February 2, 2007. His next two videos were on 13th of February. The air date for the show was February 15, 2007. The contestant who won is named Gay. February 13, 2007. Second plus third video. February 14, 2007. What in the but famous YouTube gay meme. February 15, 2007. Price is Right stupid bid aired, Gay wins. The final video was on March 14, 2007, right when the actual lawsuit hit. Now you can see there is a one-to-one relationship with every major news story around this story with those upload. But it still doesn't answer what it means, for that we have to think critically. We have to look each video and reconcile context. The Price is Right video is simple enough, note the sequence leading to the bid. The Lost and Found Showcase. Stuff that had gotten left behind after a workout. Symbolism of old videos from long-dead ops people upload. In his showcase he emphasizes that he is to bid on everything. Assuming that because people upload random episodes of shows that every single time it should be charged. Note the winner, not $250K but $1, the smallest possible bid, by Gay. The winner wins a dynamo boat and the loser is a boat captain. Symbol of YouTube as a ski boat, the next generation of context creator, which is what the symbolism connection with the meme is all about. Transition from broadcast TV to online. Which has happened. With all this context, the videos on the YouTube channel become clear. Videos of getting drunk and making a knockoff Star Wars parody. It represents content creators and the relationship with IP as beneficial to the product. Altogether it's a message about YouTube itself. The only one that trended was the stupidest bid, but the other videos existed for the comms aware in case they wanted more context. Anyway, here is the original episode. I'm sure I missed plenty of comms as I skimmed it. One last point, the lawsuit did indeed go as YouTube/Google expected. 7 years later. March 18, 2014, Google, Viacom settle landmark YouTube lawsuit. The length of this trial makes the gravity of the comms more clear. These suits cost millions. The timing of the original comm with Gay as a winner with a video famous for being gay. One of YouTube's first original content videos. That originality is part of the point, that it's not just ripping off old videos. The oddity/spectacle helped change the subject. Because remember, the lawsuit was about YouTube being nothing more than a content thief. Thus having a breakout hit doing something so unusual and trending everywhere was not just a message but reset the conversation. The money angle of things also play into the most famous parody. A South Park episode all about how content creators, back then, make no money. The whole episode was built around this video meme. While we are on pop culture. Gremlins 3, Curse of the Mogwai. Gremlins 3 is coming soon, and this is a good opportunity to correct an incomplete decode. My old decode is here. It is likely partially correct, but it was not complete. Time to fix that. By incomplete I mean I didn't do what was necessary to find a complete answer. For example, Gremlins is a triplet, as there were 2 other major films released in the same time frame with similar elements. Meaning we likely have 3 different perspectives on the same message. We can use that to get much closer to an objective truth about what was being discussed in comms. I didn't pay much attention to the name Mogwai or the rules about keeping the pet from eating after midnight. But when we look at Ghoulies, both elements are present. Mogwai means devil, and the plot of Ghoulies involves a satanic cult of which the main character is the son of the former leader. The protagonist of Ghoulies starves himself, just like the only good gremlin Gizmo refuses to eat, and turn into a monster. My old decode mostly went over it as MK comms. That much remains clear for a bunch of reasons. Villain has a mohawk for one, a consistent MK comm, and in fact it was something I was given myself as a young child as comms. Even so, there is clearly much more going on here. The symbol itself ties into insurgent warfare. It is the hairstyle used to indicate prep for battle. Translates to man-eaters. In practice, young child gets mohawk, photo is taken and photo becomes how other comms-aware people know what is intended for the child. Crucial rule with Mogwai, i.e., devils, never get them wet lest they turn into gremlins. In Ghoulies the main character wears a dripping wet robe looking for information about his devil-worshipping father. Water equals info, and note Ghoulies, the movie poster inside a toilet. The point with this water rule is likely tied to why gremlins are deployed, because there is a fear of information getting out. In Ghoulies this is direct as a son tries to investigate his Satan-worshipping father's crimes. The story literally begins with child sacrifice. The use of gremlins has an origin of what causes plane crashes. This is one of the many uses MK has, to take down a plane with a terrorist. Called Gremlins rather than terrorists when failed as a way to avoid outrage over incidents which plotters intend. The one that exposes the Mogwai, devil, to water thus birthing Gremlins is Corey Feldman. He is famous for his accusations of child predators in Hollywood. Specifically being abused in the mid-1980s right when these films were made. He was one of the most popular teen pin-ups in the mid-1980s. I don't think it's coincidence that his water spill births Gremlins. A symbol of fear of information getting out, creating Gremlins to silence accusers. Possibly supporting this is a bizarre case where Corey Feldman in the 80s did a Michael Jackson dance. It's bizarre because in the middle of the song it inexplicably cuts to a Yoko Ono, Beatles, movie called Satan's Bed with a woman being tortured. It cuts back quickly. We can't always know what every comm means, so I say that is possibly supporting, as we can't be sure what this meant. The original owner of the Mogwai in Gremlins is an old Chinese man. June 1, 1904, Old Faithful in Yellowstone opens. +17/Q. June 18, 1904, Keys Luke born. Kai Luke was most famous before that as Master Po in Kung Fu the Master of David Carradine. February 22, 1972, Kung Fu. February 21, 28/1972 Nixon's famous opening of China Historic Week that changed the world. A story about a half-American half-Chinese man trained in China. I've decoded the China/Nixon connection as the birth of a partnership that spawned big tech and more international blackmail. It runs through the origin of video games. I won't go into it here, but it is context for what we see in the 80s. The cop in Gremlins is Brady. There's a Bradley as the main character of Critters who communicates with aliens, trying to keep the alien critters in check. Brady/Bradley are both comms tied to evidence holding. Brady is played by Grimes. Asteroids and bounty hunting comms. I have barely touched Critters, so let's go into that one more now. Movie begins with prison asteroid 17/Q with Critters that escape confinement. Brady being played by Grimes is a symbol of disgusting material kept. The 17/Q asteroid with prisoners which needs to be stopped has alien shape changing bounty hunters to find them. Alien equals foreign. Not sci-fi but literally across the world is what we call those people. Illegal aliens. How do the alien bounty hunters stop the 17/Q asteroid aliens? Look closely. The bounty hunters watch a music video and transform into the lead singer. This is a perfect symbol of how pop comms function as recruitment tools. Music released equals people who want to partake in the ops act in accordance with the message of the comms. I go over this so frequently, but I've never seen comms so blunt about it. Note as the singer jumps off the stage the transformation is complete. Symbol of ops to go after monsters, conveyed in pop culture. What ops? To answer that note in Ghoulies they cast a Lisa Pelican as the love interest of the new owner of the Ghoulies. In the mid-1980s, Lisa had a very specific meaning as computer. In the mid-1980s computers were becoming connected in the proto-internet. A byproduct of new technology can be opportunity. It allowed a new unprecedented expansion of ops. There was an awareness this would create a massive escalation in MK ops. Gremlins as a movie begins with an American man obtaining the original Mogwai, Gizmo, from China from a boy in a US baseball cap. Unleashing Gremlins proved irresponsibility, and he was forced to give Gizmo back by the end. What is Gizmo in relation to a gremlin? The answer is likely technology. Change from west to east handling, among other things, video games. This is perhaps why the whole package of Gremlins involves a present box with Gizmo inside it. Change of control on who held Gizmos like Atari. Kai Luke not only played in Gremlins around that time, he also reprised his role as master in Kung Fu. February 1, 1986. Kung Fu movie with Brandon Lee acting debut as Son and Killer on Command. February 3, 1986. Pixar spun off from Lucasfilm with former Atari/Apple Steve Jobs at the head. The use of Gremlins in the film involves the banker main character and a rich woman trying to use the law to have his dog executed. This is a symbol of a regular situation where MK would be used. The dog as symbol of ops threatened by the law. Ops fund counter. She dies. Notice she is portrayed as a dragon in the film. Dragon being a symbol of many working as one, sometimes used to designate government pursuit. The actress was formerly famous for playing in Alice, which fits a use of intel threats. Speaking of which, I've wondered why Tiger was used in comms tied to MK. There are other comms. Turns out Tiger is called the natural enemy of dragon in Asian countries. Tiger equals small funded cells wage war on dragons. Perfect to define MK. Talking of Gizmo. They might replace the dog as family pet. Gizmo plays Donkey Kong. This was as Nintendo replaced Atari in the tech sphere. So these are comms about the tech transition to Japan. An agreement with wide-ranging implications across cells of all types, not just MK and blackmail. June 8, 1984. Gremlins, Spook Hunt. June 8, 1984. Ghostbusters, Spook Hunt. June 6, 1984. Tetris released, most popular game. June 4, 1984. First music CD for sale in the USA, new toy/tech. Spook Hunts. Ties both films together as both involve agents that need to be detected before they cause tragedies. The true form of the villain in the first film being the Pillsbury Doughboy, a symbol of blackmail used. The mascot and origin of Gremlins, Mogwai. Might be where Mogs get their name in Final Fantasy. They are called Mogless, but most are called Mog. Introduced within 2 months of Gremlins 2 and Mogless are supposed to be a mix of bats plus moles and Mogwai have bat ears. If so, that reinforces the connection to blackmail storage. Mogless were originally to be in Final Fantasy II but replaced by beavers. Beaver in the 1980s and prior being a perverse symbol. Still used, but it's no longer the dominant symbol for sex. I went over before how Gremlins plus Ghoulies both had starvation as the crucial solution. The point was likely asserting not funding problematic, likely KGB, cells. Feeding creates Gremlins risk. My understanding of this is very incomplete. I've been trying to define the parties involved and partnerships, but they shift around, so it gets tough. But so long as I keep digging/decoding, I'll get to the objectively correct conclusion and I'll be sharing it just as I do now. Also, last section was weaker than most of the post, that's a result of me pulling the pieces of this thing from Twitter. I'm tempted to put the best stuff last, but given how long my posts are, I doubt many read to the end, so that's where I'm most likely to put my weaker/less defined conclusions. I'm still working on getting short posts up and running. I'll have a new intro done soon and that'll be a big transition for me into presenting quality. I may even start using AI editing and animations. So many things I could do, but for now I'm still mostly focused on learning as much as possible to be the best teacher possible. If I can't get that part right, the rest doesn't matter, so I need to make sure I do the best possible job on that. This is why the posts are as they are, but it won't be that way forever. Once I finish the new intro, I will make creating small, polished posts a routine. Look forward to it. Telegram chat. Join the Decoding Telegram group. This has been Deep Throat and Tricky Dick Nixon, coordinating politics with pop culture.